Hello again YouTube, and welcome to another free-to-play deck video. This time 6 SAMs. It's quite an effective free-to-play deck. There are some considerations we needed to make, only having the one UR or the 2 SRs available, especially for things that we would rather run 3 copies of in a more optimum build. So, since the beatdown nerf, Target Binds I think is once again the best way to run it. We can storm the board fairly easily and get that 900 attack boost. Starting off the list, we would ideally be running 3 Kizan, but we can only run 1. So because of that, we are running the Legendary Secret as another way of special summoning with a 4 and a 1, for example. You bring out your Fuma, and then you can special summon Secret if it's in your hand. It's just another way of getting a 4 and 1 combo nice and easily. I can see an argument for cutting something and going into 3 copies of this to sort of better substitute the fact we're only running 1 Kizan, but this is what I've gone with so far. I'm going with the 1 Anishi and then the 1 Dojo. I'm doing those numbers as opposed to just... I think 1 and 1 is the better way to run it since the nerfs. And obviously since the nerfs are coming, not here yet, but I'm just anticipating those nerfs of Clash to affect this list, so I may as well just leave out Clash. You can't run it anymore, which is going to really suck, but because Clash kind of put 6 SAMs back on the map, I still think that 6 SAMs will be viable, just not as viable as they were. We have Kageki. When you normal summon Kageki, you can special summon another 6 SAM from your hand. Now this can come in handy if you have, for example, Kageki, Fuma, and your Legendary Secret in hand. Instead of just doing this into this, you can summon this, then go into this, and then this. It also comes in handy when you have Xian's Dojo. You summon Kageki, normal summon any other 6 SAM, and then you can pull Genba from your deck, and then that's another way of getting out your Xian, because that's another way of having 5. And then we go into Genba. It's just there as a one-of to make Xian with Kageki in those fringe situations. Genbu itself has a effect where you can target one of your banished 6 SAM monsters added to your hand if it's normal summoned. You're never going to be normal summoning this. It's just another tuner monster like Fuma that can protect from the graveyard by banishing itself. I think the other 2-star 6 Samurai tuner doesn't do that, so that's the reason why you would pick Genba over the other one. The other one being Kagamusha. During either player's turn, when exact 1 face-up 6 summon monster you control is targeted by a spell card, trap card, or card effect that could have targeted this card, you can activate this effect. That spell and trap effect now targets this card on the field instead. Much more specific, needs to be on the field and just diverts it instead of protecting. It's a little bit strange. Genba is a much better option. Let's move on to Concentrating Current. Why am I running this? Mainly because of Cocytus. Cocytus's 2900 defense is something we won't be able to get over in the best case scenario. In a best case scenario, you have Xian, 2 other monsters boost up with Target Binds, only goes to 28. So we need a way of boosting. Arguably the best way to get over it would be Power of Guardians. It's very good in 6 SAMs, but we need to pick something from the box. Concentrating Current fills that role, but it's a super rare, so I can only run it at 2. Now we have 6 SAM United, an obvious include. It's a Pot of Greed. I'm pretty sure you all know what that does. Asceticism. I remember when 6 SAMs came out first, that multiple different builds were sort of being tried and tested, and Asceticism builds were one of them. I decided to bring it back because it does have some cool combos. It's only a rare with the deck. Some things you can do is when you have Kageki and say a level 4 in hand, you can summon the Kageki, activate its effect, but then you chain Asceticism, and because Kageki won't have anything else on the field, it has 200 attack, which can then pull Fuma because it's attack based, special summons from the deck. That'll get destroyed in the end phase, but sometimes that can work out in your favor. Now, Obviously, Dojo is an include. Now, I'm tossing up between having Dual Wield and not. Obviously, it's a very good card. So, I was struggling with my testing. I'll admit that. Whether to run the Double Edge or the Dual Wield. Because quite often how I'm going to win games is by flooding the board and pushing through my opponent's defense. Whereas I feel like Dual Wield is expected. They're going to expect the Dual Wield in most cases. They're going to effectively play around it. Sometimes you can just steal wins with the Dual Wield, but if it doesn't get removed before you can use it, and if your opponent doesn't play around it, you're in a good spot anyway. I'd rather something like a double-edged sword technique, which isn't so much a thing to use while you're already ahead, but it's something that you can use while you're a little bit behind to try and come back. It's more of a comeback card. Obviously, Dual Wield's fantastic. But I found that in the cases where you did draw Dual Wield, it was either dead because you had multiple cards on the field, or it just didn't see any use, is what I'm trying to say. So I've went with double-edged sword technique. It's only a rare. If you don't like double-edged sword technique, just swap it out for Dual Wield. It's no problems. So let's get into some gameplay. Obviously for the extra deck, just Shan, 2 Stardust Charge Warriors, a bunch of Synchros from that box, as well as the Giganti Castle from the card trader. Getting into the gameplay, we're versing a Jesse Anderson, which could also be a 6 Sams, could be another Tyrant 6 Sams. Okay, no, it's a Metaphys. It's a Metaphys, and we're going second, which is super unfortunate. They'll be able to activate their trap before I can get out my Shan, if they happen to have it. I'm expecting Metaphys. No extra deck. Grit. How well do they open? I have my Shan. I have Fuma into Secret into Shan with a Kizan as well. He has the Lupine. I have another Fuma too, which could come in handy. So he's not going to get out a big monster this turn. He's going to set up the Tyrant for his next turn. And I believe the Nephthys searches. So he's going to grab a Daedalus here, I would imagine. That tells me he already has one in hand. That will be a dead card because I'm going to negate it. But if he already has a Date in hand, he's going to banish my Shan in his standby phase, and so he'll be free to play this spell. Let's see, what can I do here? There's not too much to do, to be honest. Because surely if he had a Daedalus, he would have searched it just then. Surely. I'm gonna set and pass. Because I only have one Shan. If he has his Daedalus, he just wins. And I can beat over this and get it in the graveyard. So that's great. Now he needs to be very careful about what he does here. He's gonna swing in anyway. See, I don't know about that. So I was trying to play around the Daedalus since we only have the one Shan to use. And if it gets banished, we pretty much lose. Now though, we're in a good spot. And I think barring a Sphere Ebola, we could probably win. I think him attacking with his Nephthys into my Fuma, triggering it, was a mistake. Tie that binds. We have a bounce if we need it. Do I have lethal? I have 100 and 7 is 800. I will need to bounce. Let me test for Sphere Career Bow first.
Let's see you get past this. I attack with a monster.
He has something.
Woo! Let's see what else.
He does have Sphere Career Bow, which is unfortunate. But I should be fine.
Chill out.
I almost don't want to give him anything, so I'm gonna crash.
I attack with a monster.
I save the bounce.
I end my turn.
I save the bounce back to hand, and I don't let him get this to use with his sim.
Activate a continuous.
He can obviously top deck something.
Activate a continuous.
He sends a Dade,
Continuous spell.
gains some life. Nerfs my attack, but Tidal Binds can sort of mitigate that. And sets, which won't matter since I'm just going to negate it.
Let's do this. I draw.
Now something else is going to get banished, so he's going to gain more life. It'll all depend on, will we have the damage? That's what it'll depend on here. Do we have enough attack? Is this gonna... No, because it's my turn, so it's gonna change positions, so I don't know if my attack anymore. He's gonna gain 500 here. Change my positions. Now I've got play something else. Play this, type lines. I'm pretty sure we're fine still. 6k. Negate whatever that face down is. No, your card won't work. Alright, so we managed to beat Metaphys. It was a slugfest. But I feel like that turn where we didn't go in and we set the Fuma won us the game. For sure. For sure. So, with this hand, we have good things about it is we can get out of Fuma, and with the Dojo on the field we can get out Genba, and then we can have a Fuma and a Shin on the field with Concentrating Current. So this end board will be quite good. It will be quite good. It's not the best hand, but it's usable.
Continuous. I know just what I need. I summon a monster in attack position. From my hand, I activate a quick
And again,
spell.
I'm not really sure about the matchups.
Come forth. I special summon
I'm more focusing on, can I...
continuous spell.
How consistent is my deck at doing its thing? Because you all know that 6Ms can win in the right situations.
Come forth.
Like, this is obviously a strong board. It loses to Lava Golem.
I set a card face down.
It does.
I end my turn.
But this is a very strong ending board state.
Draw.
So I'm not too sure what he's running and whether it's going to be meta or not. But this is a game where we had a suboptimal hand, but we still created a very optimal field. You know, ideally we have lots of pot of greeds and things like that, and end with a bit more back row. So this is Dark Lords. This is probably compensation Dark Lords. It's gonna Cosmic this. Am I okay with that? Because if he goes for me, I destroyed that instead. It activates in the graveyard. I feel like he's trying to bait so he can use a contact, and I don't want to let him use a contact, so I'm gonna let this go through. Like, what does he do? Compensation, sends a contact. It's going to activate a banishment. Banishment is what I think I'll negate here. Because if I just let that go through, he can search a contact. Yeah. I feel like we... win.
Check this out.
I feel like just being smart with your negates wins you the game.
My turn.
So I'm going first. I have my Pot of Greed at the ready. Nothing too fantastic, although it is somewhat usable. Depends what we get from a Pot of Greed.
Activate a continuous spell.
So I could do that, although it's not great. The good thing about asceticism onto a Fuma is Fuma does have a bonus effect when it gets destroyed, which it will be during the end phase of this turn. So I can float into something.
I special summon a monster. I activate
If I don't get fortunate and draw something. Which I actually did.
from my hand.
We draw another asceticism. No, we can't. Oh, we can't. Misplays for days.
Come forth. I special summon a monster.
Unfortunately, because we actually drew a Nishi, which often is something you want to do, it did us dirty this time because we wanted it in the deck to summon.
My monster
That is unfortunate.
activate.
So now I need to think what's something I'll want on the field. It'll probably be a Genba.
This out.
If he doesn't take out that Genba, or if he doesn't take out both of these, I'll be able to Synchro next turn. Even if you do, and 2 spots are free, I've got the double edge. Triple set. Triple set from a Ubel. Quadruple set from Ubel.
I draw.
No toggle on. Nothing activatable with his toggle on that he wanted to use before I summoned Xian. That's what that's sort of telling me. Anything on summon?
Let's go. I synchro summon a monster.
There's delay on summon. Floodgate. Obviously I don't want to be floodgated.
My monster's effect activates.
See, now this makes me think that I don't want to attack, because he might have just been trying to bait out a negate for when I attack. So I kind of want to hold here,
Check this out.
because he's got a lot of back row and I don't want to play into it.
My turn.
Like, I don't want to get hit with a Wallaby and just lose the game. Having at least one negate ready for when I attack, I think will be good. It'll make it more difficult for him to do his thing. I do feel like some of them are bluffs. I really do.
My turn. I draw.
I'm gonna play it a little bit safe with this as well.
Let's see how you.
But at some point we've got to push through, like, and bait out some of the back row, right?
My monster attacks.
We have a Ritual Beast Tamer. He's going to use Clash. Am I okay with that? Yeah.
Let's see you get past this. My monster attacks your life points directly.
He's trying to bait the negates. That's what I'm sort of anticipating this as. Now, I can bounce something before he can contact it out. For example,
I was waiting for.
a Tamer Wen.
My monster's effect activates.
This is a very stally Ritual Beast deck. Fortunately, I don't have Concentrating Current. That just gives me some more fuel in the grave for Anishi.
I draw.
Man, hand. I'm not drawing the cards though, am I?
Let's go. I summon a monster in attack position.
Now is the moment. I reveal my face down.
I've got to let a lot of this happen, in my opinion. Just unfortunate, but
Let's see you get past this. My monster attacks.
so let's see if he has double drowning here.
I'm finished with my turn.
So I'm letting these negates go through that I'm okay with letting happen, so I don't get completely blown out by something else. Summons Elder, gives him that extra normal summon. We'll see what he summons though. We can stop a contact from happening now that we have the Inishi.
I knew you'd do that. My monster's effect activates.
He's going into battle. I don't think he's actually going to attack anything. No, he suicides. Alright. We actually managed to beat the Witchel Beast. If the Witchel Beast draws Petalfin, they pretty much win. I think Petalfin is the best Spiritual Beast card by far. Because it helps with removal of the board. And it's banishing as well. He was running double Petalfin. I would consider just running it as a triple Petalfin, but that's another subject. That's not why we're making this video. We're making this video because of 6 Samurais. Now, again, I feel like those games sort of highlighted why Dual Wield isn't as good, because in a lot of boards, we get out into Shien, but we also get a Fuma on the board, or we also have Kageki on the board, or Inishi on the board. And because of that, and because we no longer have Clash, you can't sort of do the Clash combo with clashing off that second monster to make the Dual Wield live. I feel like you're better off just making a stronger board with multiple monsters than leaving yourself open with a weaker board and relying on the Dual Wield, if you know what I mean. That's why after these games in particular, I feel much better about having the sword technique over the Dual Wield. Strange as it may seem. I hope you enjoyed the list. Obviously, it's not optimal, and if you have more copies of these cards, put them in. I had a discussion with someone recently about sort of my definition of free to play, and like, why would you only want 2 copies of these cards? It doesn't take that many gems. But I don't underestimate how difficult it can be to go through a box, especially this one because it's a main. Even to get 1 ultra rare from a main box can take a really, really long time. You can't always just rely on getting super lucky with the cards that you pull. Like 1 Kizan can take you a long time to get. 1 Shien can take you a long time to get. And in a more optimum build, you know, 3 Kizan is optimal. And trying to get 3 Kizan takes forever. So they play something like a very strict free-to-play version of the deck, like what I've made. You only need to go through once to make it. If they enjoy that list, they're going to go on and make it, and go on and make the optimum version. That's how I view it. But if you just say, oh well, this is the way to run it, 3 Kizan, 3 Inishi, or 3 Kizan, 2 Shien, you know, all the back row staples like Vermilion and Armades, you gotta go through all these boxes, get all these ultra rares. So easy to lose motivation to do that. So having a free-to-play option that they can viably play while they're still perhaps building a more optimum version is sort of what these videos are all about. Just need to get that off my chest. I hope you enjoyed this list. 6Ms is still very viable, one of the more viable free-to-play lists. See you in the next video. Peace.